of the popcorn, of explosive growth here. But the challenge with Primerica is that it's a super, super simple business. I didn't say easy. Sean, you know it's simple. You know it's simple. All you got to do is share the opportunity with a few people, show them what we do some mobile F&As, help some families with life insurance, right? Get people moving forward, get people in the system. It is a simple business, but it is not an easy business. And the reason, Sean, it's not easy is because of the 6 inches between your ears, the 6 inches between my ears, right? That's what makes it not easy, because of the mind games that we play. Because when you're going to go talk to people, you think, they might got a good job. They just went on a trip. I just saw they were on a cruise last month. Now, when I meet people like that, I see they were on a cruise last month. They got debt. They got a big house and a nice car. They got debt. Because I've met with those people, right? Growing up in the business, I remember getting some referrals. And I got a referral from somebody who I went to meet with them. I walk in their house. I lived on, there's in my neighborhood, there was a right side of the tracks and the wrong side of the tracks. The right side of the tracks is where the golf course was, and there was houses that were like $400,000. The wrong side of the tracks were the small ramblers where we lived. And right, you'd ask, are you on which side of 85th Avenue are you on? And so in this case, I was meeting on the wrong side of the tracks with this family. And I remember getting to their house, and there was a bunch of broken down cars, and they had this is no joke, they had a sheet like up in their picture window when you walked in. The flooring was all old. And we sat down and I did the presentation. This family had $100,000 in their checking account, you guys. Now, am I saying they maybe needed to learn a little bit about investments and not poverty mentality? Because people can have cash and still have poverty mentality, right?
Yeah.
I mean, that is the truth. And so, but we met with them. They had a lot of stuff already figured out. They referred me to their friends who lived on the golf course in a $450,000 home with an Escalade in the driveway. And this is no joke. I showed up in the winter, and they had their food in a refrigerator on the back, or in a cooler on their back step, because their refrigerator went out and they didn't have enough cash or credit because all of their credit cards were maxed out.
Dang.
They made the same amount of money we did. In our house, we bought for 80 grand, right? And theirs, they bought for 400 or 300,000 or whatever it was. It was a beautiful home with a grand piano in the entryway. So don't take the way people look on the outside and judge them to decide whether or not they are qualified to be a client or a recruit in our business.
That's good.
Everybody needs what we do. That was very early on in the business, and it taught me a massive lesson not to judge people based on how they look or how their homes look or what they drive, ever. Right? I drove a cruddy car early on in business, and I would park down the road a little bit so nobody could see what kind of car I was driving. That's the truth. That is the truth. And so how do we get from there to become senior vice president, making 300 grand a year? How do we do that? Well, we work the system we just shared with you. And as we work the system, we fall in love with the numbers. And as we fall in love with the numbers, we expect obstacles and we expect challenges, because if you're not either coming out of a major life crisis, in the midst of a major life crisis, you're about to go into one. So you can analyze your life and know you're in one of those three places. But let me ask you, is that going to happen if you're working your job and you hate your boss and you feel miserable every day waking up? That's still going to happen, isn't it? So those things are going to happen Life is going to happen. Chaos is going to ensue. If you've got kids, they're going to do crazy things. If you've got a spouse, you might fight with them. These things are all going to happen. But what if you're growing a business? What if you're changing your life as those things are happening? Where are you going to be 5 years down the road? Right? Hopefully that sells you the dream just a little bit. Taylor, are you willing to share that presentation?
Absolutely. I got it up right here.
Thank you.
That's freaking good. So good. All right, you're all set.
Thank you.
And you'll have slide control as well if you want.
Okay. So thanks for designing this. We appreciate that as always. I just got to brag, that first one, that was me. I did that.
Hey, can we give a round of applause, please? Gilly put that whole presentation together. So Taylor, I'm sick of it. Put it all together. Made the fancy arrows and everything. We love that.
Let's go.
Thanks. Thanks. I needed that. It's not clicking through.
Try it
So,
now.
all right. So mental toughness has the power to transform how you approach life and what you get out of it. Being able to face the stress and adversity of life with strength is often something we admire in others, but you too can achieve that level of peace and perseverance, right? You've seen people, you've heard stories of people that have overcome unbelievable feats. And you're like, and they're happy and they're fired up. If you've ever listened, there's public speakers who were born without limbs that are on stage sharing with a smile on their face, right? There's public speakers who have went through so much adversity. But here's the thing, you guys, we don't want to hear, and this is the truth, people don't want to hear the struggle until you're out of it. Am I right? When you're in it, your close inner circle, family and friends are there to help you. But when you're on stage speaking about it, it's not when you're in it, it's after you've already overcome. Okay? Go on to the next page, please. All right. So mental toughness. How do we master mental toughness? Before I was a regional vice president, at one point I was a struggling division leader and had a lot of mental things going on because there was actually a lot going on in life, just like all of you. Every single one of us have things going on in our lives, right? And so we've all experienced that. Mental toughness, we know, starts with self-talk. If someone talked to you the way you talk to yourself, would you allow it? Right? How often do we think, God, that was stupid. I can't believe I said that. And then we sit for 45 minutes dwelling on what we coulda, woulda, shoulda said. Right? Thinking if we were better at this or better at that. But here's what we know, we can change. And I know 100% that, because when I called one of my mentors as a struggling regional leader before we went RVP, and I was crying and I was struggling and I was whining, he said, man, Gilly, you got to get your emotions in check. You can't do this and have a business. Who's going to follow you? And I thought, oh my gosh. I cried a little harder, but he saw something in me that he was willing to give me a little bit more coaching and development. And so what did he say? Here's what you got to do. You got to start reading. What books are you reading to help you mentally? What are you listening to every day? Are you watching TV? Are you watching things that are negative and are creating fear in your life? Who are you hanging out with? Is your best friend somebody who's complaining and broke every day? So I want you guys to take a second, just unplug for a second. Think of the 5 people that are the closest to you. Think of what their life is like spiritually, financially, physically, mentally, emotionally. Is it good? Is it crappy? Because you are the average of those 5. Right? That's rough. I've had to look at myself and my surroundings in that way. Right? And so you might not have somebody coaching you every day, but you have this opportunity where we are here to do that. But I remember hearing, who are the average of the 5? That could be an author of a book that you read every day. If that's where you're spending your time and energy, it could be the audio that you listen to, the YouTube videos that you're plugging into. Are they negative or are they positive and focused on getting better? Okay. Tapping into positive people, having a support system is the best way to improve yourself. So what do? We focus on the areas, positive thinking, right? Negative things happen in life. And I'm not saying we always are going to have rose-colored glasses. Positive thinking isn't going to change everything. But being able to see the light in a dark situation, a lesson in the struggles is helpful. Getting out of victim mentality and realizing that you have the ability to be a victor in your life and not the victim. Anxiety control. You guys, this is real. This is real. I'm not minimizing any of this because we all feel this. And we know that as it happens, it can become a habitual thought pattern of anxiety, right? We start to go down these spirals of negative thinking. And what can we do? We can, first step is acknowledge it. We can become self-aware and we can pull ourselves out of that through visualization, through goal setting. Intentional control, attentional control, right? We can control where we place our attention, because wherever we place our attention is what will happen in our lives. It just is. If we're placing it on the messed up world, that's what we're going to see more of. If we're placing it on the faults of the people we love the most, that's what we're going to be more aware of. And if we place our attention on gratitude, on blessings, if you can find one thing with that boss you dislike that you do like, you might start to see more things. Mental toughness allows leaders to lead by example, instill confidence, and create a culture of resilience within your team. Taylor, if you could put the focus on you as well for a second.
Okay.
Taylor and I had a conversation on Sunday night, and we were talking about this. We were talking about mental toughness and mindset. And so what I said is I wanted to do a little Q&A with Taylor because they are becoming a pro at mental toughness. I will say they've become a pro at mental toughness in the past and are learning to become a pro at mental toughness today, but in a healthier way. Would you agree?
For sure. Yes. Emotionally in tune. Yes.
All right. So the first question that I have is, you talked a little bit about the player 1 and the player 2. And I would
Yes.
like for you to share with us a little bit about the player 1 and the player 2, and about, you don't have to give names, but a recent appointment that you did, right?
Yes.
And how you worked that and what that looked like in that situation.
Yes. So sometimes I am having a bad day, and a bad day could be where I'm not physically feeling great or emotionally feeling great. But I know that not only are teammates counting on me, but I'm counting on myself. And so I know, Sean, if I have an appointment scheduled, that I have to show up, but I can't just show up and muddle through it. I know that I got to show up and give it everything I got, because I truly believe that if I don't, then that person, I might be the reason why that person doesn't join Primerica. And now
Mm,
they, I've messed up there. It's crazy. It sounds, I put a lot of pressure on it, but if they see Primerica through me, then they're going to join. If I'm not at my best, I could be the reason why their future is different. And so I play a game
that's
with
huge.
myself, Sean, where if I actually put a word to it, which is player one, player two, but I believe I've always done this, is if I'm having a bad day, Erica, player one is who I am, player two is who the best version of myself. And so I put player two in a game. I will put player two in the game and I'm going to give it everything I got. And to give you an example, my second appointment that I did with Peggy and Mr. Charles, Peggy, you didn't know this, but I was having a terrible day, but player two checked in and player two gave it everything that I got on the second appointment that I did with Peggy. And once I was done, player one came back in. I felt sorry for myself for a little bit and got right back to it because I had another appointment, Sean, right afterwards. So that's just one of the things that I do. It's a mind game for myself. It's a mental game. We used to have a tree, Geely, outside of our office, and we called it the worry tree. And we used to tell teammates if they were having a bad day or something, Erica might have heard me say this to somebody. Hey, listen, when you come in, you got to put all of your worries, all of your problems on that tree. Because when you come in here, we're going to do everything that we got. You get to take all your worries and stuff off that tree when we're done. But you got to play the game. So that's just one of
That's
the
awesome.
games that I played with myself for sure.
That's awesome. And I'm sure I'm sure that tree felt it and was willing to accept it. So that's pretty awesome, right?
Yes,
I
for
love
sure.
that. I love that. Okay, so the other thing that we were talking about is your vehicle issues. And there were some funny, but in the moment, I'm sure life like altering vehicle issues, right? And so
Yes.
here's what we know, right? When we're growing up in this business, we don't all start off making 100 grand a year in Primerica because this is $100,000 a year opportunity, but we've got to get to the point where we feel worthy of that $100,000. And on our way, we're muddling through. So we're in a situation, right, where some of us got started with old vehicles that literally broke down. I remember breaking down at clients' houses where I had to like call and get a tow from a client's house or have them jump my car, right? Feeling awful.
Jeez, man.
But Taylor's stories were impressive to me. So please share a couple of those because I thought they were awesome.
So my two favorite, all right, for my vehicle. The reason why they're my favorite is because persevering through it, when you're going through it, you want to cry, you want to give up. I wanted to quit the business so many times during this 1 month, literally quit it. Like I'm done with this, Janice. But my first, it's in the same month. So check this out, Janice. It's my first month. It's September 2016. I wanted to be the first person in our base shop and in the hierarchy to write 10,000 in premium personally. And so was competing for that. And so I am, if y'all are in Jacksonville, when you're coming off of 9A 295, you're about to get off of Southside and Bay Meadows. And it's that overpass that you're about to go off of, where I'm on my way to a client's house. And actually, that's the second story. Let me tell you the first story. Okay, check this out. This is even better. Okay, the first story is Peggy. I do an appointment with somebody who gives me a referral. I close that person who gives me another referral. Close that person, they give me another referral. I'm 5 referrals deep, and the 6th referral for me to close 10,000 in premium is in Miami. Well, I never did virtual meetings. So I drove from Jacksonville to Miami to possibly close a life insurance sale. Peggy, imagine this. I've never met this person. They are Jamaican. They did not want to speak on the phone or anything. They wanted me to drive down. I was brokey broke. Y'all understand? I'm talking about I did not know how I was going to get there. I knew I had to drive down and drive back up. I drive down, I go to them. They are both like 50-ish years old. They had 6 different whole life insurance policies between them and their 2 kids, their 2 adult kids. They were being ripped off. They were all together for those 6 policies paying almost $400 a month. And I know it's because of their language barrier that the insurance agent ripped them off. So I'm at their house. I spent 3 hours in their house because Peggy, I'm explaining everything to them and trying to get it. I even had to get my dad to help me a little bit because he's from the islands. And but we closed. So I'm excited. I just closed. It was, check this out, it was only $1,200 in premium that I closed because I put the whole family together. So I drove all the way to Miami to close $1,200. I walk outside and I'm like, where's my car? My car got towed. She told me, I thought she told me to park on this side of the street. She had said the other side of the street, so my car gets towed. And remember, I'm broke. Okay, I got to figure something out. So I am in Miami. I am super stressed now. I have to pay $575 or something like that to get it out of the impound. And so I didn't make any money on the trip pretty much because that's what I just spent. But I closed $1,200 in premium. But the biggest thing is I knew that I helped them. By the way, they referred me to one person who was back in Jacksonville, and that person ended up becoming a client, and they passed away a year later. It was my first death claim that I ever paid out. So I knew, yeah, I knew for a fact if I hadn't did that for a selfish reason of me wanting to close premium for a goal, if I hadn't did that, I don't think we would have paid that death claim. So yeah, that was the mental toughness of not complaining about it. Nobody knew that my car got towed. None of my teammates knew. Nobody knew. They just knew Taylor closed a sale, because that is more inspiring, Janice, than me saying, hey, this is what happened. I didn't make no money or nothing like that, right? So that's something that was big. Here's what happened 2 weeks later. the second story. I'm driving on the south side. I'm on my way to train 3 legs deep. So a downline who's 3 deep, Tia Pate. She was on the fence still, but she had set up an appointment. I have to drive from where I was at to, if anybody knows, y'all know Dunn Avenue, right? All the way to Dunn Avenue. And guess whose car breaks down, Peggy, on the little exit? And I had 40 minutes to get there. I wanted to quit. I 100% wanted to quit because that's insane. I just paid this money. I'm trying to make it happen. I have a teammate. I'm selling the dream, so on and so forth. But I just had to get it done anyways. I call an Uber, and that thing cost me at least $40. But I showed up to that appointment, player 2 checked in, and I was in there. Ended up recruiting that person right there who, just from Tia, we ended up closing $3,000 in premium within I want to say 2 to 3 days from training her just after that happened. We walk outside and she's like, hey, where's your car? And I said, I parked down the street. Don't even worry about it. I parked down the street, AKA Uber parked down the street and dropped me off. But when I was in that appointment, she didn't know that my car broke down and I was stressed out and I knew I was going to have to get a car payment. She didn't know that I just went out so much money because she didn't need to know that. She just needed to know where we were going. And so, by the way, I ended up closing $12,000 in premium that month. Okay. From that. And I truly believe it's through the resilience of that. Overall. And so those are just like the little things, the little decisions that I've made that have helped me become mentally tough. Because Geely said it, it's not about what happens while you're in the shit. Excuse my language, but that's true. It doesn't matter what happens while you're in the shit. It's what's the story afterwards. And so
Absolutely.
that's just an example. Just a couple examples. So thank you for Geely for letting me share those very funny stories. Which are crazy.
Thank you. We appreciate you so very much, because those are the stories that, again, we can't tell until after the fact.
Can I say one thing?
Please.
That I made when I joined Primerica, I felt like I was like funny and positive, but there was a lot of self-deprecating jokes that I would make. And my humor would be targeted where it would actually be making fun of people. That's not the good type of humor. Sarcasm was a really big thing. And Jehovich Medina, who's a senior vice president, earns almost $300,000 a year. He said that sarcasm is anger's ugly cousin. And you might not be angry at that person, but you might be angry at yourself. And so or very early on in my Primerica career, I made a couple decisions. I made a couple decisions that I was going to be more optimistic, not positive, but more optimistic. When stuff happens, Peggy, I'm going to try to look for the better. I wanted to minimize sarcasm because I didn't want to hurt other people. So I believe that develops mental toughness. But the decision that I made very early on was they said that you could be the prettiest person and you could do the most numbers in Primerica, but most people burn out of this business or leave this business because they do not develop mental toughness. And I decided that I was going to be the most mentally tough person I truly believe that you can be around. I that's what I wanted to become known as, mentally tough, resilient. And so I think that Geely, as you're going through this, if I think it takes somebody to make that decision to be mentally tough, and even when you're panicking inside, everybody doesn't need to see it. We just got to make sure that we could push through it, and then your story is going to be so much more impactful. So I made that decision probably my 4th month in Primerica, and I think it's truly has saved my career several times over because of it. So thank you for letting me share that, Geely.
Thank you. I appreciate that. And you couldn't be more accurate, because I spent years in this business being decent at the business. I spent years in the business doing a great job helping families financially and being able to do the player 1, player 2 across the kitchen table.
Mm-hmm.
But what I was not good at is in the building aspect. And because that's when you're working with people and you're growing people, that's where the mental toughness really comes in.
Yes.
And during that process, I struggled like crazy. And until Mike Lengrell had that conversation with me of, you gotta fix this emotional dysregulation and, your pity parties and the victimization and all that stuff, I would never have become a vice president. So
It's big.
you are 100% accurate. So thank you for that.
For sure. Thank you.
You want to go to the last?
Absolutely.
So in wrap up, right? Coming from our founder, Art Williams, 90% of winning is always being excited, especially when you don't feel like being excited.
Fact.
You just heard coming from Taylor. And the one thing that I've heard from teammates on the call, not on the call, about Taylor is their ability to do what they just said, right? The ability to always be on it, to always be positive, to always be supportive and pushing other people up and helping other people, not with nobody knowing what's going on behind the scenes, right? We all struggle. But the fact that nobody thinks you struggle, that's mental toughness. It really is, because we don't wear it on our face.
Right.
The challenge of any leader is to not
let the losers,
the disappointments, the pressure, the competition, or the rejection change you and make you negative and bitter. And that's coming from the founder of our company that had unfreaking believable amounts of attack and rejection and everything building this business. Like, listening to some of those talks saying, we're this close to being out of business. We're this close to not having a company to market insurance through. Right. I don't know if we're going to be, now this is 40 some years ago, right? He would say, I don't know that we're going to be here tomorrow, but today let's get after it. Would you be able to handle that? Would you stick by a company where the founder and the president of the company is saying, I don't know if we're going to be here tomorrow, but today let's tear it up?
Man.
That's a lot.
Yeah.
Right? But that's what they did to right or wrong, to make sure that they were active with the crusade, to make sure that they were impacting the world, right?
Right.
Changing people's lives every single day, one family at a time, changing their own lives and building a business that is unbelievable. I can't imagine what life would be like if there was no Primerica.
Me neither.
My life wouldn't be where it is today, right?
Mm-mm.
For sure.
Mm-mm.
And just even mentally, emotionally, it wouldn't be where I am. So
Facts.
if you guys are struggling, if there's a day, and I'm talking to myself as well, right? If there's a day where there's struggle, just know you're going to face that struggle, whether you're in Primerica or not. And so do you want to deal with that when you might have a boss and have to work at a company for another 30 years, 20 years, maybe never retire? Or do you want to at least have the option to have a life that you can only imagine, Sean?
The
Right?
option.
Absolutely. So that is our meeting of today. Peggy, I'm so thankful that you're on today. It was nice to see you all here today. And I hope there was some benefit. Anybody have any comments or questions for Taylor or?
I appreciate you running this. Thank you for giving it everything you got tonight.
So
got
for
4 pages of
those,
notes.
thank you. Thank you. Yes, I appreciate you giving it. For those people that are in that have been reached out to for the junior broker mentorship, please stay on for about 15 more minutes. And for those people who have not been reached